Hi, it's Angel Shaver, Stampin Up Independent Demonstrator from Kansas again, and I hope we got this figured out, although it's black and white to me, so I'm not sure why that is. Let me do some tapping around and see if I can figure it out. Alright, there. Got it, I hope. And I hope that you will be able to see what I'm working on. We are making this card today with the sunset image. And the first thing we're going to do is I am using the new color gray granite. And I have it cut at 4 1/4 by 11. So we are just going to fold that in half to give us our card base. Use my bone folder to strengthen the crease, and I'll put that aside because we are going to create the sunrise, sunset, whatever, whichever one you want it to be, image on our piece of Very Vanilla. This is cut at 2 1/2 by 3 1/2, and I am going to be using this stamp from the Waterfront series, along with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink to make some mountains or cliffs. And in order to do that, we need to kind of stamp off a bit. So make sure you have some scratch paper underneath, because we will be creating cliffs in the corners, the bottom corners of the cards. And that's really to give us room for our sun. Okay, there's my cliffs. I think I'm gonna add another stamp right about there. Give it just a little more dimension. And another one right about there. Alright, there we have the cliffs. And then for the sun, I'm using crushed curry. And we're going to get to do some sponging here in a minute. So make sure I have enough crushed curry on there to add a sun right there coming up. And I'm going to go back and add a little more of the black along the opening between the two cliffs. Because what we don't want is there to be space like that. Okay. Then, getting out my sponge dauber and the new in color, the Grapefruit Grove, and we are going to do some sponging of the sky. get it too close to the black, you'll pick up some of the black, and I knew that, but I did it anyway. And I am taking off just a little bit of the Grapefruit Grove over here on my scratch paper before I add that Sir Sky. I'm going to go ahead and just flick the edges of the paper so that I make sure we have some Grapefruit Grove along the edges. And I'm just going to go back in and do some circling, and then we're going to add the clouds. Okay, so I am using Smoky Slate. And I'm just going to add a few clouds on here. Try not to get too far that you can't see what I'm doing. And I am doing some stamp off with this one so that my clouds are a bit lighter. And I think I will go back and stamp my sun one more time with the crushed curry to make it just a bit darker. And then we will start putting the card together. And there we have the sunrise using the Waterfront stamp set. Now, here is, here's the interior of the card. Let me think, what shall I stamp? Maybe I will just stamp some clouds floating across the top. I think I'm actually going to sponge it too. I'm going to sponge my interior of my card. Where did my sponge topper run off to? It's over here. I'm going to sponge the edges. Just flicking the edges. Then I will just get started sponging the sky. I don't want it to be very dark, so I'm doing some sponging on my grid paper to get rid of some of the color. Close that up. And then I will sponge, lightly sponge, so I'm going, or stamp, so I'm going to stamp off and add a few goes. Okay. Now, I'm going to use the Tombow multi-purpose glue, and we will put the card interior inside the card. And then there's a strip of Grapefruit Grove paper cut 4 1/4 by 1/2 inch that I'm just going to put right about there. And then I'm going to trim the edge. Okay. And then I'm taking a piece of basic black cardstock and I'm just cutting it in freehand, kind of a wave shape, to sort of make what I'm going to put at the bottom of my card. Then I grab my snail. So I am just going to add a thin layer of snail. Make sure it's at the bottom of my sunrise. And attach the basic black. And there we have what the whole card will look like. Now I am going to, it always scares me when I stamp directly on a card front. But the good news is, if I make an error, we can always cover it up. And I'm going to pick the sentiment. I'm going to pick the one that says, "Every little kindness makes the world brighter." And I really ought to be doing this on my Stampin' just in case it doesn't have enough ink. But I didn't get my Stampin' out. So I'm just going to trust that this is going to work. I'm going to put it right over here. That did not work. Ugh. I hate it when that happens. I wonder if there's any way I can line that up and try again. Almost. That almost worked. So I think for right now we're going to leave it, and then I'll get a punch or something later and fix it. I'm going to attach the sunrise using Stampin' Dimensionals. So I will get those on the back of my sunrise. If you're playing along, don't do what I did. If you have a Stamparatus, be smart and get out your Stamparatus. I knew as I was doing it that I should have my Stamparatus out, and I didn't. So I know in the future. We'll pretend that I know in the future to leave my Stamparatus out. But we all know that I won't do that. I won't remember to use it every time. So here I am, just going to attach that to the front. And here we have the card. Every little kindness makes the world brighter. And don't forget, if you want paper shares, head on over to my blog at angelstamps1.blogspot.com and learn all about them. The last day to order those is June 30th. Sorry that the dog is making so much noise right now. And also, stop by the El Dorado Train Depot Saturday, June 30th, between 8 and 4, to pick up some retired product. And also, sign up between now and then if you want to do a card class that night. And I will see you all next week. Bye. Mary. Hi, Mary. I'm glad you are watching live.